Disney loves to be the center of attention. Don't deny it, it's true. Sometimes it's good attention, sometimes not so good, and sometimes Disney's breaking news happens to spread around the globe like wildfire. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Today I'm talking about the 8 times Disney broke the internet. For this, I'll be looking at news that not only impacted Disney's past, but continues to impact the parks and company to this day, for better or for worse. These are the news stories that made headlines and caused Disney to be in the limelight even more than they're used to, if that's possible. And we've got some tips for you related to these headlines as well, because again, Disney's still dealing with a lot of this stuff. Number 1, of course, we're going to talk about the park closures. Now, these happened worldwide in 2020. Let's remember 2020 for a second. It started off with some pizzazz. We got the Villains After Hours party that started up at the beginning of February in Magic Kingdom. Regal Eagle Smokehouse opened in the American Adventure Pavilion in Epcot. And, oh yeah, Bob Iger stepped down as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company and handed over the reins to Bob Chapek. But things started taking a 180-degree turn when Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea closed on February 29th due to the coronavirus pandemic. At first, the American Disney parks stayed open, per usual. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway opened in Disney's Hollywood Studios on March 4th, the same day as the kickoff of Epcot's Flower and Garden Festival. Believe me, that was a really long day for us. And the Hot Diggity Dog food truck opened in Disney Springs on March 12th. But the grand openings and everyday hustle and bustle of the parks came to a screeching halt. On March 14th, Disneyland shut its gates to the public. It remained shut down for over a year. This is the longest Disneyland has ever been closed since its opening day back in 1955. Disney World followed suit. On March 16th, Disney World said see you real soon to all its guests and remained in shutdown for the next 4 months. When Disney World decided to start opening up, it did so in phases. First came Disney Springs, which welcomed back shoppers on May 20th, 2020. Then resorts started to reopen on June 22nd, and we welcomed back hotels like Old Key West Resort, Disney's Riviera, Disney Saratoga Springs Resort, and several other deluxe places to stay. Some deluxe resorts lingered, however, and opened at a later time, like Disney's Polynesian Village Resort that reopened on July 19th, 2021, after its extensive Moana Retheme, and Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, which reopened in spurts, really. First Kidani Village reopened, then Jambo House, and finally the hotel as a whole was officially back in business by August 26th, 2021. Magic Kingdom and Disney's Animal Kingdom were the first to greet guests back into their lands again, reopening on July 11th, 2020. Epcot and Disney's Hollywood Studios reopened a few days later on July 15th, 2020. Month after month, more Disney hotels reopened for guests. Now the only hotel that has yet to reopen is Disney's All-Star Sports, which is now being renovated until the foreseeable future. It was a time of severely mixed feelings and major park changes, and those park changes are still impacting our visits today. So let's break it down here. What changes will impact your next Disney World vacation when it comes to this pandemic? Well, for starters, there's the Park Pass reservation system now in effect. After you purchase your park ticket, you got to complete the second step and reserve your place in the parks. This is to help Disney keep watch over the number of people being let into their parks daily. Now, we know that Disney is pretty much returned to full capacity, so the Park Pass system may just be here to stay. Making a Park Pass reservation only takes a minute or two, but if you need some more guidance on how to secure your place in the parks, you can always check out DFB's handy-dandy step-by-step guide for making that reservation. I'll link it down in the description below for you. And you should take a look at it. If you haven't been to Disney World, if you haven't been to the parks since the reopening, that is something that's going to be very, very different for you, because if you don't make a Park Pass reservation, you're not getting into a park. So definitely check that out. And masks are also still currently required for indoor areas of the parks. If you're walking around outside, standing in an outside queue line, riding an outdoor ride, or getting a bite to eat, wearing a mask is not required, but masks are currently required for all indoor queues, shops, attractions, and restaurants. The masking policies have changed quite a few times since the park's reopening, and also based on spikes in the coronavirus pandemic. So we've had masks, and then no masks, and then masks just indoors, and then masks everywhere again, and then no masks again. So that's sort of what's been happening, and that's what we've been keeping up with here at DFB. So make sure to keep up to date on mask requirements by checking in on the Disney World Reopening and Updated Experiences portion of the Disney website. And you can also stay updated with the latest Disney announcements by checking out the weekly DFB latest news videos here on DFB Guide and reading about the latest 411 on the DFB website. And if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll get updates dropped into your inbox every day by yours truly. All right, number 2. The next time Disney broke the internet, no more FastPass. Yes, when the parks reopened and experiences started returning, the previous park visiting system that did not return, including Disney's FastPass Plus in Disney World and MaxPass in Disneyland. Now, these systems were a bit different from each other, but still accomplished similar goals. They allowed guests to reserve times to skip the main lines of their favorite rides and enter into a shorter line later on in the day. Initially, there was speculation that the missing FastPass and MaxPass systems were a temporary situation. After all, a lot of different aspects of the parks had remained closed and didn't open again until later on that year or further into 2021. Then, Disneyland Paris's new line skipping system launched at the beginning of August, and the speculation as to what was going on in the States started to shift. Disneyland Paris launched the Disney Premier Access service, which replaced their former FastPass system. Instead of FastPass being a complimentary addition to your theme park ticket, Disneyland Paris visitors now had to pay an extra 8 to 15 euros or $9 to $18 per ride they wanted to skip the standard queue for. Though Disney World and Disneyland over in the US didn't completely take on Paris's new system, they did announce on August 18th that the FastPass and MaxPass systems would not be returning so that the parks could make way for a new premium attraction feature. This new feature is called Disney Genie Plus, which is an extension of the already established My Disney Experience app. Now, there's a ton to unravel when it comes to this new service, so if you want to play some catch-up and learn all the Disney Genie tricks of the trade, check out my previous video that covers everything we learned using Disney Genie Plus. But in short, there are 3 main features on this app. The first is the complimentary service, simply called Disney Genie, that helps guests customize Disney itineraries to get the most out of their park days. The second is Disney Genie Plus. For $15 in Disney World and $20 in Disneyland, guests will have access to the Lightning Lane queue, which is basically the relabeled FastPass queue, for the majority of rides and attractions. So basically, you get to skip over the potentially more substantial standard line in exchange for a shorter, more time-sensitive queue, but that's going to cost you $15 a day or $20 a day, depending on what park you're in. The third part of this new service is the individual attraction selection, IAS, or we call them fancy rides, which closely resembles Paris's Premier Access program. The main difference, instead of having to pay individual prices to skip over the main lines of all Disney park rides, only the select premium rides require individual pricing, meaning those rides that really rack up the wait times, like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in Magic Kingdom, Rise of the Resistance in Disney's Hollywood Studios, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure in Epcot, and Flight of Passage in Disney's Animal Kingdom, along with a few more, are all part of the individual attraction selections you can choose from. Unlike the Disney Genie Plus selections that have a set price of $15 or $20 per person for numerous rides, individual attraction selections have surge prices depending on the demand and crowd levels of the day. I know, it's a lot to process in a short amount of time. Lucky for you, the DFB team has whipped up a nifty little printable guide to help you navigate this new program. I'll link the guide in the description below. It's totally free to you. Number 3, the third time Disney broke the internet, layoffs. Okay, one more section in regards to the 2020 closures, and then I swear I'm moving on to other internet breaking Disney stories. It's just 2020 was a big year in terms of changes for Disney, for better or for worse. One of the biggest casualties of the 2020 closures directly impacted the careers of cast members that helped bring magic to the parks. Initially, the closures weren't supposed to be as long as they were, but as time passed on from weeks to months, Disney tried to find ways to save money. In April, over half of Disney World's union workers were furloughed, meaning cast members were temporarily laid off while the Disney company waited to reopen their parks. And according to the Financial Times, with the furlough of over 100,000 employees, Disney was set to save up to $500 million each month. As more time passed, the temporary layoff became a more permanent matter for over 32,000 employees who ended up receiving emails permanently terminating their roles in the company. Other programs that became suspended until the foreseeable future were the Disney College Program, the Disney Culinary Program, the Disney Cultural Exchange Program, and the Disney Academic Exchange Program. Today, Disney's in the process of rehiring and re-implementing the programs they temporarily lost. Now that more and more experiences are reopening, Disney needs more and more people once again to help return the magic that was lost during the pandemic. The Disney College Program and Disney Culinary Program have also been reinstated. That being said, the parks still haven't fully returned to normal. Projects have been canceled or postponed, some restaurants remain closed or have various opening and closing days, and shows like Fantasmic and the Festival of Fantasy Parade still have not returned. But Disney cast members are trying their best to continue making magic for the guests every day. The next time you're visiting the Disney parks, make sure to practice patience and kindness with the cast members. You can even go the extra step and recognize a cast member that's going above and beyond through the cast member compliments section on your My Disney Experience app. Just enter in the name of the cast member and explain what they did to make your trip super special. Speaking of, I need to give a huge shout out to cast member Shiloh Jones, who over at the Disneyland Hotel just a couple of weeks ago saved my life by somehow finding a converter for my voiceover mic that I forgot to bring with me to Disneyland, and every place was closed, and I was doing pickups for the latest news video. It was a Friday night, it was like midnight. Somehow Shiloh found the exact thing I needed to be able to record the pickups for the latest news video that was going out the next morning. It was a magical moment, and I'm going to send her a giant like fruit basket or something. I don't know, but she was amazing. So thank you, Shiloh. If anybody knows Shiloh, please let her know that she saved my life, my figurative life, but what an amazing night. All right, the next time Disney broke the internet is the Splash Mountain Retheme. Okay, Splash Mountain has been a staple log flume attraction for the Disney parks since first opening back in Disneyland in 1989. But on June 25th, 2020, Disney announced Splash Mountain would be undergoing a major retheme. Instead of being inspired by the film Song of the South, it'll instead be themed around the animated film Princess and the Frog. Though Disney stated that Walt Disney Imagineering had been developing a Princess and the Frog-inspired retheme for this log flume ride since summer of 2019, the news of this reimagining wasn't announced to the public until an online petition began circling the internet, demanding that the concerning racist undertones, quote-unquote, be removed from the ride. Since the announcement, we've learned more about the Mardi Gras story and oohed and awed over the beautiful Bayou concept art, but we've yet to hear about when exactly this project is going to take place. Now, it's supposed to be rethemed on both coasts. Though this reimagining project was announced last summer, you can still currently experience the OG Splash Mountain featuring Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. According to an interview from Theme Park Rangers podcast with Magic Kingdom's Vice President Melissa Valiquette, these kinds of projects take a lot of time to chisel out an honest and accurate method of storytelling. So when is this reimagining going to take place? Not sure. But in the meantime, some new Disney World attractions will for sure be kicking off in 2022 that you can look forward to, like Tron Light Cycle Run in Magic Kingdom, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind in Epcot, and Moana's Journey of Water. Keep checking back in as we learn more about these new attraction releases. Speaking of new attractions, the next time Disney broke the internet, Galaxy's Edge. Yes, I can still remember the excited energy of Star Wars fans around the globe as the newest Disney park expansion was officially announced during the 2015 D23 convention. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opened in Disneyland on May 31st, 2019 and August 29th, 2019 in Disney's Hollywood Studios. The backstory, you step into the planet of Batuu, immersing yourself in its culture through unique foods, market shops, and characters. This place is truly immersive. I like to think of it in terms of Universal Studios' Wizarding World of Harry Potter expansion. Once you step into that part of the park, you're in that part of the park fully. You're in that film. With the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge also came the opening of two new rides, Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, and Rise of the Resistance. These rides opened to travelers, quote-unquote, at different times. Smuggler's Run was available as soon as Batuu became open to the public, but Rise of the Resistance didn't open in the parks until months later. Though Galaxy's Edge opened in Disneyland first, the state-of-the-art Rise of the Resistance experience opened in Disney World first, opening to the public on December 5th, 2019. Disneyland's Rise of the Resistance waited to open until the next year, January 17th, 2020. There's a reason why Rise is so popular. It has a little bit of everything: lifelike animatronics, trackless ride system, thrills, interactive roleplay, storytelling. It's a lot to wrap your mind around for sure. But with its popularity also came a brand new way for us to wait in queue lines. In order to regulate the crowds, Disney implemented their boarding pass system. Instead of jumping into the main queue line of this attraction, you had to get on your My Disney Experience app at exactly 7 a.m. to snag your boarding pass and reserve your spot in the virtual queue. Unfortunately, these boarding passes were usually gone within seconds of being released. If you missed the morning time slot, you could always try again in the parks at 1 p.m., But sometimes grabbing a 1 p.m. pass proved even more challenging, depending on the crowd levels for the day. A couple of months back, however, on September 23rd, Disney put a pause on the Rise of the Resistance boarding groups in Disney World. Now you can enter the standby line like any other ride, or you can pay for an individual attraction selection to skip over that line if it's looking a wee bit too lengthy for your liking. This doesn't mean Rise of the Resistance's boarding groups will be gone forever. Disney's mentioned how they like having the boarding groups on hand to help regulate attraction access, merchandise launches, and grand openings. In the meantime, though, boarding passes are still going strong over at Disney World's newest Epcot attraction, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. The boarding passes for Remy's work identically to the Rise of the Resistance system. Just open the Virtual Queues tab on your My Disney Experience app at exactly 7 a.m. and join that virtual queue. And if you miss it or sleep through the first round of distribution times, then try again when you're in the park at 1 p.m. But this section isn't about Remy. Sorry, little chef. This is about the wonderful world of Star Wars, which is continuing to be expanded beyond Galaxy's Edge. Next year, Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser will open to recruits on March 1st. Disney describes this Star Wars expansion as an all-immersive 2-night vacation experience that goes beyond anything Disney has ever created before. So think live-action role-playing to the extreme. This experience is going to be epic, meaning it comes at quite the epic price. So if you're wanting to truly immerse yourself in the Star Wars experience and become part of the lore, best to start saving up now. The next time Disney broke the internet, the Osborne lights leaving Walt Disney World. Now, this one's an older internet-breaking story, but many guests are still mourning the loss of Disney's Hollywood Studios' Osborne Family Spectacle of Dancing Lights. The Osborne Family Spectacle of Lights made their Christmas season debut at Disney's Hollywood Studios, or rather MGM Studios back in those days, in 1995. 5 million lights twinkled, blinked, and mesmerized guests as they stretched all the way down the streets of America. The lights were also known to throw a little festive party every now and then. They liked to dance along to popular Christmas tunes like Carol of the Bells and Feliz Navidad. As Ralphie would say in A Christmas Story, this was a time in MGM history where all was right with the world. But in 2015, Disney announced that the Osborne lights would be illuminating the park streets for one final season before being retired to make way for the new Star Wars Galaxy's Edge expansion. On January 3rd, 2016, the Dancing Lights gave their final performance in the park, ending their time in Disney World by dancing to the Mickey Mouse Club Alma Mater song. Getting teary just thinking about it. Are you missing the Osborne Family Spectacle of Dancing Lights as much as we are? Well, guess what? You can still see them. The Osborne Family Spectacle of Lights display is currently being used to help illuminate the Give Kids the World Village charity complex for their Night of a Million Lights event. Give Kids the World Village, by the way, is an 89-acre nonprofit storybook resort in Central Florida, and children with critical illnesses and their families are treated to week-long, cost-free vacations. When you visit this Million Light Christmas stroll, you'll not only be able to revisit the Osborne lights, but your proceeds will also go to helping this nonprofit organization continue to thrive. If you're still looking for festiveness in the Disney parks, though, never fear. Disney World continues to get in the holly jolly spirit. Epcot's got its Festival of the Holidays, which runs from November 26th through December 30th, 2021. There, you'll be able to taste different seasonal foods, go on a scavenger hunt with Olaf, listen to the holiday storytellers in each country, and experience the Candlelight Processional, which is back this year over in the American Adventure Pavilion. You can also continue searching for holiday cheer over at Disney Very Merriest After Hours event. For a separately ticketed price, you'll be able to experience holiday-themed performances, fireworks spectaculars, parades, and Main Street USA Snope. Gotta love that Snope. We've got a whole video telling you all about this particular party. You can check that out next. Or if you're looking for something more on the complimentary side of things, you can always check out the Christmas tree stroll over in Disney Springs, where you can find lots of different Christmas trees decorated to reflect some of our favorite characters, movies, and rides. Want to learn even more about Disney around Christmas time? I knew you would. Check out my video where I cover everything I wish I would have known before going to Disney World during the holidays. All right, the next time Disney broke the internet, those Skyliner crashes. Remember, the Disney Skyliner is the newest mode of transportation that takes guests over to Epcot and or Disney's Hollywood Studios in an airborne gondola. The transportation system opened on September 29th, 2019, and for the most part, it's been a pretty reliable mode of transportation. You know, mostly. On October 5th, 2019, right after the opening, the Skyliner experienced its first gondola crash, leading to guests being stranded in the air for over 3 hours. Fortunately, nobody was hurt and everyone got off safely. The Skyliner remained closed for over a week as Disney worked out the system's kinks, and it was back up and running later that same month. And everything was smooth sailing for a little bit until April 22nd, 2021, when the Skyliners crashed again in Disney's Hollywood Studios station. This collision wasn't as drastic as the one in 2019. Cast members were able to get the shattered glass cleaned up, and the gondolas were back up and running just a couple of hours later. The most recent collision, however, happened on June 8th in the Epcot Skyliner station. Just like before, two gondolas had run into each other, leaving guests stranded and suspended in their gondolas again. Disney apologized to its guests for the half-hour delay by providing them with ice-cold water, a $25 gift card, and free Disney passes for the evening. They did something similar after the first collision back in 2019, giving two $50 Disney gift cards, two Disney World Park Hopper tickets, and cold bottled water to try and make up for the trouble. All in all, the Skyliner system is a reliable source of transportation, but if there's ever a reason you find yourself in that gondola for an extended amount of time due to an unprecedented turn of events, you will have access to the Skyliner's emergency kits, which is what we're really interested in, which include a few packets of drinking water, cool packs, a pencil and notepad, a whistle, a glow stick, and a few blue cups. Now, those cups you can use for whatever you want. Any sort of bodily fluid. But again, this is only for emergency use only. If you're on the Skyliner and your gondola is delayed, don't panic and think a crash has happened. Skyliner delays happen all the time as guests board and depart from the gondola system, so just remain calm and wait for your gondola to start back up again. It usually does within a couple of minutes. If you have a fear of heights, the Skyliner system may not be the greatest choice of complimentary transportation for you. You may be better off taking one of Disney's shuttles to and from Epcot or Hollywood Studios, or driving your own vehicle over to the parks. Just note that Disney buses leave less often from Skyliner resorts than they do from the other hotels, so be aware of that. The next time Disney broke the internet, let's talk about Kite Tails. We're going to end things off on a glorious high note. Kite Tails is a new show in Disney's Animal Kingdom that launched on October 1st, just in time for the 50th anniversary celebration. Now, this show announcement was always intriguing for me. I'd seen the concept art of all the colorful kite characters, and I knew it was going to happen at the Discovery River Amphitheater, but none of us really knew quite what to expect. So when I first saw these Lion King and Jungle Book 30-foot character kites come to life, it was an experience. These kites are flown over the river thanks to the cast members on jet skis pulling them along. But how do these cast members keep control of kites when the windblown characters seem to have a mind of their own? Well, let's just look at our TikTok video real quick. Now, don't get me wrong, these cast members do a phenomenal job of putting on this show. It's definitely the kites who like to cause chaos. Sometimes they give up in the middle of the show and just go kaput, and sometimes the wind blows them over into the trees. It honestly keeps you on your toes, because you never know what's going to happen next. And when this show first kicked off, a lot of us feared that the kites had immediately crashed into an empty seat section of the theater. But as it turns out, this is on purpose. This section of the theater gives the kites a safe place to land. Honestly, the show is a ton of fun and very different. It's different every time, and I love it. Plus, it's a great 10-minute show that can keep kiddos engaged all the way through. Kite Tails performances take place throughout the day around 11:15, 12:15, 1:15, 3:15, 4:15, and 5:15, and the shows switch out. One show may be Lion King themed, and the next one is Jungle Book themed. So if you like one, you may want to return later to check out the other performance. Just keep a careful watch on that day's weather forecast. If things are a little too windy or rainy, the show may either be canceled or switch into B mode, meaning the character kites will not come out and perform. So there you have it, folks. Disney World has quite the internet-breaking timeline, and the DFB team is here to cover it past, present, and future. Now remember, to continue receiving updates on the latest and greatest Disney goss, reviews, and tips, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. The link to sign up for the free newsletter is right down there in the description for this video. I hope this has been fun for you. It's been super fun for us to research and remember all of these really wild times that have unexpectedly happened to Disney. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.